Hiya, I'm Jasper, and welcome to your video review for The Santa Clauses, the 6-episode TV show on Disney+. So, as always, I'm going to give you the good, the bad, and the furry. To start off with the furry, there's reindeer, because it's a Santa movie, and they are horribly CGI'd. This show came out in 2022. It is funded by Disney with what used to be, I feel like, one of their tentpole television or movie series, if you will. How is your funding so terrible? Like, Disney owns Marvel. Disney owns a lot of things. Disney owns 20th Century Studios. And how is your CGI this bad? Just how? What? Like, did you just spend all of your budget on everything else, and then at the end of the week you were like, oh no, we forgot the CGI budget. Quick, get Carl down in accounting to make some of this. Yeah, he said he dabbled. Okay. So, terrible CGI. I feel like the animatronic reindeer from Santa Claus 2 was better than the CGI reindeer they have in this one. And a random fucking CGI mouse, that scene could have been cut entirely, especially because of how terrible the CGI was for it. Okay. Moving on to the good and the bad. This television show, 2 thumbs up for me. I know you're like, weren't you just bitching about how horrible CGI was? Yes, but even with horrible CGI, this show is so much better. Like, I would say it's almost up there with the Santa Claus 1 for me. Like, that's how good it is. It is absolutely fantastic. I think that that 6 episodes was the exact right amount of time that they needed to use for this. Like, they didn't abuse the television length thing by being like, well, we gotta fill this somehow, so let's have a bunch of filler. And they didn't have the problem of like, well, we're still trying to condense like 2 seasons worth into this 6 episodes, whatever, so we're gonna cut, and just make it really choppy and terrible. So I think that the 6 episodes was the exact length of time that they needed to, and I appreciated the cuts like into a, smaller segments into those 6 episodes, and it was really good. The costumes were really good. The sets weren't, Lord of the Rings big, if you will, but they seemed a lot more appropriately sized to where you were showing. Like, it wasn't like, hey, this is supposed to be a place where the entire North American populace would decide to come and do a vacation, but it's like 20 feet wide. No, it was like, hey, this is a work zone for these people working on this, and it felt like it was just a small part of a larger environment, that like, you're just seeing what they need you to see, but I feel like there was more to it beyond what you could see. So I felt like the scale of things was correct in this one, and the plot line was fantastic. I liked it had a little bit of that Noelle feel to it. Like, if you've seen the movie Noelle, check out my review. I can link it in the description down below. But it had a bit of that Noelle feel where you're like I can kind of see where this is going a little bit, but it's the fun journey to get there. And what I liked about it is that you had all the same characters from the first one and the second one, and then you also had Kal Penn, and Kal Penn is fantastic. I love Kal Penn as an actor, and I also thought that he did a really good job in this one, because in the Santa Claus 3, which I do not recommend you see, and you don't need to see the Santa Claus 3 to watch this show and know all of the references and whatnot. Like, basically, I feel like they almost pretend that the Santa Claus 3 doesn't exist in this one. And in fact, with the timeline for how old their kids are, maybe it doesn't exist. Like, because maybe they bumped that time frame back a few years just with how old his kids are now, versus when they have like the same start date and they have the same today date, but as to when they started having kids, I feel like they kind of nudged it a couple years. But anywho, so with this, Kal Penn he's fantastic, and I liked that in Santa Claus 3, Nick Frost was like a mustache twirling evil guy who's just evil for evil's sake type of thing, which was probably added to how much I didn't like that movie. But with this one, I really like a good villain who you understand the motivations behind, and they don't feel like they're the villain. And if you watch this, and I don't want to ruin everything for you, so like, I'm not going to explain whether or not how evil he is or isn't. But I think that the important thing with a villain is that they don't think of themselves as the villain, and I think that that is important. So they did that really well with this one as to whether or not he was or wasn't a villain. I'm not going to get into that for that because I feel like that's a little bit of spoiler territory. But all of the actors in this one, and I felt like they did a good job of choosing the elves in this one, because in this one they went back to the old style of like the first one, and that's why I feel like this was such a good decision by Disney. Like Santa Claus 3 was a cash grab, okay? And I hope they lost money for that one. But this one was like, hey, Santa Claus 1 was excellent. Let's do that. Like, let's bring, 1994, there was VCRs and things. Like, let's bring the awesomeness that was the Santa Claus and bring it to today's kids. And let's do that in a way that is relatable. And one of the things that I think works is that the elves are back to being, hey, they're hundreds of years old. They've had experience. They're not dumb. They're not kids. They are hundreds of years old adults that know more than we do in some cases. And that's awesome. And I think that that works really well. And I like that they brought back, well, you'll see what they bring back. But it was just really good decision for them. And I can't tell you enough how much I enjoyed basically every second of this movie, except for when there was a focus on the CGI. Like when they were riding in the sleigh, I'm like, at least they didn't show the reindeer a whole lot, because they did just close up of like the sleigh and forward, or sleigh and people in the sleigh type of thing. But other than the CGI in this movie, just absolutely fantastic. The acting was great. The lore, the expansion of the how to explain the Santa Clauses, because you had each subsequent movie was like, here's the Santa Claus and the Mrs. Claus and then the other Claus of the Claus of the Clausy Claus, and in this one they really bring it together and still make it believable for having the Santa Clauses. His family was great. I loved their little quips. They were a tad ridiculous, but I think that was what they were going for, and I think they played it very well with that. So I just want to say that I hope that you give this show a chance and not let the Santa Claus 3 ruin your experience, because you could just watch the first one and then you could probably skip the second one. I feel like there's enough references to the second one-ish that maybe you should watch the second one. But yeah, in your rewatches, like Santa Claus 1 and this one, just absolutely awesome. I like how each Santa Claus movie, his beard, like how it grows in, is just totally different. Because each time I'm like, oh yeah, that's the best way to have the beard. Oh yeah, no, that's the best way to have. Yeah, that works. And then this one I'm like, yeah, that works too. Like it's great that they do his hairstyling different every time, and it works fantastic. So the extra characters, the other characters, the introductions and the new and the old and whatnot, they were just all awesome. I like the people that they chose, the actors that they chose, the storylines and just the comedy bits. And I love Tim Allen and his style of comedy. So I think it works so well for this. And I can't say it enough. Go watch this show. It's awesome. It's fantastic. It is worth your time, and you will have a jolly feeling at the end of this movie, or at the end of this show. So I don't have anything more to say for this one because I don't want to spoil it for you. But go watch it. If you watch it, let me know what you think in the comments down below. Do you think it's on par with the others? Do you think it's better or worse? What made it stand out to you? Who was your favorite character, either new or old? Let me know in the comments down below. That's all I have for this one. Thanks for coming. Thanks for watching. Hope to see you at the next one. Bye.